I'm Detective Wright with the Travis County Sheriff's Office. I am here to ask for the public's help in a case that we received of a child that we found deceased on August 24th of this year. It was a newborn baby. It was located in a small, shallow grave, apparently dumped there very soon after its birth. We are waiting to try to find more information as to who the potential mother is. There's a lot of possibilities in this particular case. We could have an abused mother. This could be hiding a crime. This could be an unwanted pregnancy. We could have a young child who's had this baby and is hiding that pregnancy from other people in the community. We don't know. There's a whole lot of things that it could possibly be. What we do know is that we need the public's help to reach out to them to let us know if they know someone that has been pregnant. They would have been fairly far along in their pregnancy and, would now no longer have a child and not be able to necessarily explain that. And so any information that we were able to gather from the community would be greatly helpful in this particular case. Any questions? So currently we don't know a lot about the child. We are still waiting on information from the medical examiner's office that might give us race or anything else. We do know that the child is a little girl. We have named her baby Ivy. Our crime scene technicians that were out on the scene with us came up with that name. She was in a very large clove of ivy. And that's just kind of what we worked in for the entire morning. And so therefore we kind of thought it was an appropriate, pretty name for her.
Do you know approximately if this baby was premature, or is that information at all?
So it's a little hard for the medical examiner's office to give us an exact time frame, but she definitely seemed to be very far along in the birth. So a fisherman who is next to a Bear Creek, a fisherman who was out there was able to, he was just out there casting a bait net on the creekside water, trying to gather some bait fish in order to do some fishing. Was kind of wandering through the wood, looking through the debris line, so that area floods quite frequently. And in walking, he was able to find something he thought, didn't know what it was, but he was interested, so he kind of looked a little further, and as soon as he noticed that it looked to be a baby, he called 911 and notified us.
What do we know about the description of how the grave was? It was shallow. Was it dug in with some sort of shovel? What do we know about that?
So we would say that it's pretty shallow, so we couldn't necessarily know exactly what was used to dig it, but it doesn't necessarily look as though tools were used, so it does look hand dug based off of some of the roots and some of the other things that we were able to see and how shallow it is. We would not believe that someone went out there and made an actual grave with a tool, with a shovel or what have you.
Was there anything found around this baby or near this baby as part of the investigation that'll help you?
So the baby was enclosed in some plastic, and so that information, that piece of evidence, we will be sending off to the FBI. They were going to be assisting us in processing that, and so there could be information for us to glean from that. But there was no other remnants nearby that were immediately telling of any information. So the baby was not clothed. The baby was just contained. If that helps clear that up.
How long do you think that the baby had been in the grave before it was found?
So we're estimating just a few days, and I won't really get into the exact why we feel that way, but that is definitely our estimation. It has not been very long.
Why did you feel the need to give this baby a name? And you said you mentioned dignity in the press release.
Absolutely. Well, because in how we found it, it was certainly not given a whole lot of love or care, and so therefore we felt like it needed that. And giving it a name was the first step. That's what the first step in most children's lives are, is to be named. And also gives us some ownership to this case. The Travis County Sheriff's Department is very dedicated to trying to figure this one out for a lot of reasons. I mean, we have a lot of social issues that are being touched here with this one case. You know, all the possibilities as to our homeless population, our vulnerable population, our, you know, access to medical care for our pregnant mothers, all of those things are foremost in our minds and our thoughts all the time. And this case kind of brings all those right to light as to what we're dealing with.
Now, I don't know if you're able to remind us, but what are other options that people have that don't want to keep babies? The Moses Law, you're able to mention a little bit, reminding our community that they have options if they don't want to keep the baby?
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of social groups out there that are very big on helping our community. They certainly can go to fire stations. There are places that they can drop anonymously. There are a lot of options out there. There's a lot of nonprofit companies out there with the internet and all those things for people to reach out to if they find themselves with an unwanted pregnancy, or even find themselves with you know, there is always that possibility that this child was born deceased or was, you know, deceased in the womb. And so that medical care piece to this, you know, any of the main hospitals, you know, they're going to see our pregnant mothers if they're in distress or they're concerned. And so we want them to be aware that that is an option to them and not necessarily have to panic or do something else.
I'm not familiar with that area. Are there homes around there, or is it already remote?
So it is a little on the remote side just based off of its proximity. There are neighborhoods, new neighborhoods, as well as quite a few apartment complexes. I think there's probably about 4 or 5 apartment complexes in that general vicinity. And then there's some older established neighborhoods further down Old San Antonio Road.
Do you also have campments for homeless?
There are some nearby homeless camps, one of the larger ones being near the South Park Meadows area, which is probably only a mile or two from our actual location. So it's a long walk, but it is walkable distance. And we do have people that live in their vehicles or are homeless that have been camped in that area in the past, according to residents. Not super frequently, but that does happen.
Have you already visited that location and conducted some conversations with people living in that homeless camp area?
We have. We met with quite a few people that very day. We went to several different homeless camp locations that we were aware of and spoke to a lot of people. They identified 2 females that had been in late-term pregnancy in their opinion. We have interviewed and received DNA samples from both of those females. They both deny being the mother at this time, so we will wait for DNA returns to come back. We are hoping to get you know, some sort of tips from the public on our major crimes tip line, or through Crime Stoppers, or through 911. Any of these would be great options for us. We have received a couple of tips that we followed up on and received DNA from some other potential mothers, but we don't have anyone yet that is a forerunner in this. Okay. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming.